My name is Brian. Today I'm going to show you how to tune a 9000 Raven 7.74 dish. First thing you'll do is once you mount your dish, you will put all your settings in it for elevation and tilt, and then you will just tune it. Turn it left to right. If you watch, you just hook your meter up, you turn left to right until you get it. Once you get it as high as you can, just moving it left to right, then you will tighten up the 3 bolts on the back of the dish. For that, I'm going to use an impact with a 1/2-inch bit on it. And I'm just going to tighten up these 3 bolts right here. Now keep in mind, right now the squinter is in my hand, it's not on the dish. The signal right now is 182. It can be higher because on the peak signal side it shows 189 right now. So as of right now, without the squinter, I'm going to try to get the signal as high as I can. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure the side bolts on my elevation are loose. I'm going to tighten this other bolt that's in my way. I'm going to make sure these side elevation bolts are loose a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that all thread the nut on top is up away from the cross support. And I'm just going to slowly just adjust it. As I go up, it's actually, the signal is actually dropping, so I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to keep on loosening it until the signal gets as high as it can, and then it starts going down. It went all the way up to 189, and then it dropped down to 183. So now that it's 183, 184, without even going back up on it, I'm going to just tighten up the sides. Now remember, the highest signal was 189, and right now I'm at 185. So therefore, by tightening up these sides, if I put tension on the all thread at the bottom, and that should bring up the satellite elevation as well as put tension on this dish. Right now I've got it up to 190. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of flex it to the right a little bit, and it went down. I'm going to flex it to the left a little bit. Don't put too much pressure because you don't want to warp the dish. Now that the signal is tuned as high as I can get it without using the squinter, now I'm going to do the squinting part. Now keep in mind, as far as the Prodlin dishes, they had 2 levels, but this one right here only has 1. So in order to do that, if you look right here, you can see little valleys right here. There's 4 of them. And also, if you look on the outside, you can see 4 nudges on all 4 corners. On this type of dish, what you'll do is you'll line those nudges up with these right here. If you come real close and show them these. These little nudges right here on the side of the radio, of the feed horn. These right here, it'll slide on there like that. Then what you'll do is you'll just turn the whole feed horn until it's level. And if you can tell, this right here is level. Okay? Now that that's done, what you'll do is you'll tighten up the feed horn. In this case right here, I have already tightened up the feed horn. So, now that that's level, I'm going to work with left and right. So I'm going to pull the squinter off. I'm going to turn it 45 degrees, and back in those grooves, I'm going to push it back on there. Notice I did not even remove the feed horn. I just took the squinter off, turned it, and put it back on. Now, with the squinter on, I'm going to look at the signal. The signal right now is 126, 125. So I'm going to take the squinter right back off, turn it 180 degrees, and put it back on. And then the signal on that side is 129, 130. So, if you come back here, I'm going to show you how to adjust the left and right. There's 3 nuts on the bottom of the Raven. You'll loosen these up a little bit. The reason why you want to loosen those up, because this nut right here is only plastic and it will break. Now, when you put your wrench on here, just keep in mind, this is a very touchy. Just by moving as much as you saw me move it, it dropped down 20 points. So I'm going to move it back the other way to bring it back to 126. Right now it's at 126. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of snug this back up because I'm pretty sure that's where I need to be at. But if you're not sure that's where you need to be at, then without tightening these up, you can just turn that squincher back to the other side to double check. Anyway, the signal right now is 125 on one side. I'm going to take the squinter off, turn it around, put it back on, and the signal again is 126, 132, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it again. And if you look now, the signal is 127. So, now that it's tuned left and the right, I'm going to take the squinter off, turn it, and put the level now. We're working on top and bottom, which is your elevation side. The signal right now is 135, so I'm going to take it off, turn it around to where the level's on the bottom now, and put it back on. Recording that signal, it is 136, 137. So, I want that to be down a little bit to match the other one. So I'm going to adjust the elevation on the yaw thread bolt. Once I get it to where I want it at, the top bolt, the top nut on the yaw thread needs to be pushed all the way down, and then you'll just snug them together. That way the dish will not move anymore. Okay, now that the signal is 137 on one side of the squinter, I'm going to turn it back around to double check. And the other side, it's 137 as well. So now the dish is tuned. So now what we do is we take the squinter off of the dish and press the 3 button on the DAP meter. In this case, I'm using a DAP 2. A DAP 1 will work as well. A DAP 1 is red, a DAP 2 is orange. If you're not familiar with the orange ones are for a Jupiter system that is out, and the red ones are for the 9000s. You can use these on the 9000s and the Jupiters, but you cannot use the red one on the Jupiters and the 9000s. So right now I'm just waiting on the modem to do its soft reboot so I can store the pointing settings.
We take a pause. My hands are freezing. No, just joking.
Now, because of right now the dish is tuned, you should not be moving the dish anymore when you're storing the settings onto the DAP. So, I'm still waiting on it to come back up. Okay, now it says finding system done. So I will press the 3 button. Right now it says point S and it just has a signal, so I'm going to push the 3 button again. It says center 1. Now notice when I say center 1, when it says center 1, the squinter is in my hand. It is not on the dish. I will push 3 and it'll say wait. Now keep in mind, you'll have a center 1, then you'll have a squint AZ1, a squint AZ2, a squint LV1 or EV1, and a squint EV2, and then you'll have a center 2. Now center 1 and center 2 have got to be within 15 points of each other. So for instance, if your center 1 records at 156 and your center 2 records at 184, you're going to fail, even though they say pass on the squinting. So since I got the satellite tuned, now it says squint AZ1. Well, AZ1 is left and right. So I'm going to put this back on here in the grooves, and then I am going to push the 3 button. It's going to record this side covered up. And then it says squint AZ2. I'll take it right back off, turn it around, and put it back on there. And then I'll press the 3 button again. Okay, it said it passed, so I'm going to take this off, press the 3 button. Now it says squint EL1. So I'm going to put it for elevation. Push the 3 button again. And it's going to wait for EL1 to record. Now it says Squint EL2, so I take it off, turn it completely around, and put it back on there again, and press the 3 button, and wait again. Now it says EL test passed. So now I'm taking the squinter off, and I'm pressing the 3 button. It says center 2. Center 2, again, that's a center. You do not have a squinter on the dish. Press the 3 button, and then let it record. You notice through the whole time I was storing this, I never even adjusted the satellite at all. Right now it says store result. I'm going to press the 3 button. Then it says store yes, advance yes. You push the 3 button again. Then it says pointing exit. You'll push the 3 button the 3rd time. Once it says pointing done, you're done pointing. You can either leave the meter on there until you're completely done with the job, or you can take it off. In my case, I like to take it off because whenever I'm off the roof, I like to be done with the roof. So I'm taking this off. The important part of taking the meter off is inside the stinger. Do not arc the stinger out on the radio because that will shorten it out. Okay? So, Hughes specs, they require us to use dielectric grease on all the fittings. So now that this fitting is off and I'm done with it, I'm going to fill it up with dielectric grease. This is the brand dielectric grease we use. Now that you see that the rubber boot is full of dielectric grease, I will just screw it back on here. Now once that's on there, I will get a 7/16 wrench and I will just snug it a little bit to where it can't be turned, can't be loose. And there you go, guys. That's how you tune a Raven .74 9000 dish.